could you imagine if your whole life you believed there was a conspiracy to stop people like you from succeeding, and then later on someone just like you does well? Often we'll get guys in my course and they'll be short, or they'll be Indian, Asian, whatever, and they have limiting beliefs. Maybe they're German, whatever. They have limiting beliefs. So I'll show them 10 other guys who are exactly like them who are crushing it, and you should see, like, they almost want to cry because they're like, I have nowhere to hide anymore. I have nowhere to hide.
One of the ultimate copes in the world is not to actively compete in a healthy win-win way, but instead to just say, fuck that person, and then feel like you're above them. Okay, so that's like a very, very easy way to get dopamine. So this is in the Sermon on the Mount, okay? Do not just start shit talking. Don't judge the chip in your brother's eye when you have a plank in your own eye. So what you want to do is, like, when you see people fucking up, you could be aware of it, just be aware of it, realize that everybody's on their own journey, and then say, okay, well, that's where they're at, but focus on your own lane completely. It's actually very selfish to do that, and then learn from people out there who are winning. Okay, this is fucking massive, but the problem is, I believe that a lot of those people that you're seeing that would hear that advice, they have an underlying belief that they couldn't learn from it. Like, they actually don't believe that it's possible.
No, but hold on. If you, because they're victim mentality, but the victim mentality doesn't just apply to, like, their life. Then the whole world is against them. There's an entire conspiracy, a nefarious conspiracy to keep them down. So the fact that someone took a course and then became rich, no, you cheated. You had to have ripped someone off, because that doesn't happen. That's not, there's no way that really doing hard work and understanding how to scale a business and reading all these business books and, like, learning from people who know better than you, there's no way that that actually makes you rich. Now, if you're on the other end of it, you know it's true. And then you're actually confused. Like, I look at my life and I'm like, how are not more people doing this? This doesn't make any sense to me. But, like, from their standpoint, it's like, no, I know this doesn't work because the world is against me. My victim mentality spreads to everyone. Does that make sense? And so what is it? It's easier for me to stay in my mom's basement, for me to not talk to women, for me to leave negative TikTok comments or YouTube comments or whatever. It's easier for me to do that than to actually go out and do the work, because if I do the work, I might fail. And then it's like the conspiracy. Like, could you imagine if your whole life you believed there was a conspiracy to stop people like you from succeeding, and then later on someone just like you does well? Often we'll get guys in my course and they'll be short, or they'll be Indian, Asian, whatever, and they have limiting beliefs. Maybe they're German, whatever. They have limiting beliefs. So I'll show them 10 other guys who are exactly like them who are crushing it, and you should see, like, they almost want to cry because they're like, I have nowhere to hide anymore. I have nowhere to hide.
It also crashes the dopamine.
Yeah, it does, because they have nowhere to hide anymore. It's just one of the saddest things that you've ever seen. You see it over and over again, and you try to show them an abundance mentality will actually help you understand. Rule number 5 in MOA, we don't ever hate on people. We don't ever talk shit about people behind their back. If someone is doing better than us, we need to learn from them. I have friends of mine who make $100 million a year, but they cheat on their wife and they do a bunch of blow. You know what I do? The $100 million a year part, I keep that. They're beating their wife, or they're doing the coke, I don't keep that part. You know, I separate the art from the artist. Does that make sense? You know, like, OJ ran for 2,000 yards in a season and killed his wife. Like, you can separate the two things from one another, right? So, like, that was the other thing that I learned, and just to never hate on people, and just to actually, like, understand, or just have not pity, but just have an understanding. Some people have mental disorders. There's this one study that came out recently that goes over, like, people on social media who, like, leave a lot of these negative comments. When they've done surveys, they found a lot of them. There's a high association with autism, a very high association with sociopathy. Like, just think about it. Like, what would it take for you or I to leave repeated YouTube comments? Like, what in the world? Nothing. Because something would have to take me away from a business that is fulfilling to me. I rescue fucking animals. Like, I have an incredible girlfriend. We bring women home together. Like, I just cannot imagine my life where I have this incredible fulfilling life and just, like, leaving multiple YouTube comments. And so that was the thing that I learned. Again, one more time, I sat there with a bunch of super wealthy dudes and I say, hey guys, when was the last time any of you left a negative comment for someone on Instagram? And they're like, I don't even know how to do it. I don't even know how to do it. Yeah. And success leaves clues. You should look at yourself and say, why am I a failure? Well, if I'm explaining to you how you could be successful, number one, it's always going to feel awkward. Success will always feel awkward. If I explain to you things to do to be successful, but you still think the world is against you, then you're not going to believe anything I have to say, and you're going to keep going back to, like, the way you know unsuccessful people, they say words like try hard or name drop. That's how you know, basically, that those people are not successful.
Yeah, it's The framework that I think about this from, I call it spiritual bondage. And what it is that you've given up on life, and so you're just looking for the dopamine. And so whatever can give you dopamine or relief or a cope is basically what you're doing. And part of, I can remember there was this one clip that I had where I gave like some very, very harsh feedback to a student. And that clip, well, this is a very strange story. Funny enough, there's this, you can actually look this up on TikTok. There's this TikTok called, I think it was called Owen Cook Official. And it was actually a fan of mine who was trying to help me out. And he wanted to help me go viral. So he picked these clips of me like, being very harsh with students. And immediately one of them went to, I think, 4.8 million views. And it got put all over like, it was like H3H3 and like every podcast that you can think of. And basically they're basically kind of parroting it like this seminar where people basically go to get shit talked. So like it's being framed as like it's like he's paying this guy to yell at him. And what they don't understand, because they're completely in this reality of this sort of like easy dopamine matrix of like coping and like shit talking and stuff like that, is that guy, if you're paying money because you want to get better, you're willing to take critical feedback, and you're willing to take critical feedback because you believe that you could improve. Like there's something in your brain that says, if I took critical feedback, I could improve. If I learned from a mentor, I could improve. So you have the underlying belief that you can improve. So for example, like if you were to come to like, one of our seminars, we would gladly give you a lot of very, very harsh feedback. But I would predict that if you bring your kind of fragile aunt to one of our seminars and we were to break her down, she would just say, those guys are mean. Like those guys are mean. Like they're so mean and cruel.
Yeah, because you have to first off believe that constructive criticism is helpful. And a lot of people don't like that, especially like say in the field of evolutionary psychology. There was this one professor, I can't remember if it was a professor, it was some lady who came to David Buss and said something to the effect of, you telling people all this information, don't you see how it's harmful and it hurts women's feelings because you're explaining that men and women have innate sex differences. And Dr. Buss's response, it's at the very end of his book, When Men Behave Badly, was that it's better for the world to know. It's better to know the truth. Well, in other cases, it's like you're dealing with a guy who like clearly is not taking his weight seriously, or a guy who's clearly like consistently being cheated on by his ex, or is in a situation where he's in a bad situation with a business partner and there's some crypto involved, and you want to tell him, hey, bro, your money is gone, but you can't. But you tell it to him, and then just imagine like Ty Lopez.
There's some crypto involved.
Yeah. There's always some crypto involved. So Ty Lopez told me the story once. It was really funny. He's like, I had a friend of mine. He came to me and he showed me this app, and I could like see a ton of holes in the app, and like the app had a ton of competitors, and he asked the guy, he goes like, how much money did you put in this app? He goes, I put my entire life savings. And Ty didn't know how to tell him. It's like, bro, all of your money is gone. It's like, it's the same thing with a lot of these crypto guys that are like holding on, they're like suing people, and I'm like, no, bro, your money's gone. Like, but nobody was willing. So the H3 is a great example. Because he became so popular on a social media platform, he never had to take the constructive criticism. He wasn't in the military. He doesn't understand that concept. So it's like the fact that your type of instruction or mind could help other people is outside of his reality. So what he sees is, you're just getting yelled at. Yeah. But I mean, he's also like a fat kind of loser. Like, now it sounds like I'm hating on him, but like in any other walk of life, he would not be nearly as successful as the crutch and the leverage that's been afforded to him because of the stuff that he says. And in part, by the way, the crazy stuff he says is why he's so popular. You understand what I'm saying? So it's
also, though, he's a leader of this kind of like, I guess it's, kind of like left-leaning ideology where it's kind of like, you sort of just like succumb to the system and you just like let the system kind of nourish you, and there's not like a sort of a...
there's no way up.
Yeah, there's no upward mobility. So because there's no upward mobility, we kind of just sit here and we just kind of like in this like sloth-like reality and kind of just like look at little clips and go, That's just like kind of what he does. And I'd love to hang out with the guy, actually. I'd like to meet him, but probably not going to happen. Although perhaps it could be at Ty's tomorrow, you never know. But it's like, I wonder if there would be a way to show him like, there is like another way of seeing the world, and it's not that necessarily like one way is better than another way, because at the end of the day, we're all on our journey, and we're like, our way is not perfect either. But there are other ways of seeing the world that maybe you haven't considered. And one of those ways is simply that you can expand your life experience. Like you can really, really, really expand your life experience. Like your life could just get a lot cooler, but there's certain pieces that have to be involved. And here's the big piece. Every single second that you're wasting looking at a bunch of dumb gossip inherently you're cementing that. It's kind of like a spiritual bondage to being stuck in that fucking loop of not advancing and not ascending, right? It's literally a spiritual slavery to where it's like, I'm just gonna like look at this dumb shit and I can't advance.
Click the link in the description and I'll send you an exclusive invite to my elite networking community where you can learn to meet high quality women today.